Powersafe 12V125F 125 amp hour of a 10-hour rate, telecom batteries, suspended electrolyte, generally rather fancy, high reliability models, a lot more practical than any of my old batteries really, which are flooded, all of them, but these are harder to restore, and indeed I've never really tried doing any restoration work on large AGM cells before, because these are the first ones I've ever owned. They are not new, they are in fact I believe beyond their 12-year specified service life, judging from this little stamp on them, which says recharge before 14th 10/01, so these are probably 14 years old. So indeed not new. However, they have been used in a proper telecom application. They have been connected to a battery management system. I picked them up on site, and I know that there's been no malfunction of that system, and the person who sold them to me said that there had been no alarms. They were in generally good nick. This is confirmed by the fact that there have been several extended power outages lately. So these batteries have been up to performance, because else they would have been replaced due to poor performance rather than old age, which is the case. So they were, surprisingly, they were rather discharged when I got them, but that could be due to the fact that the power outages just haven't given the battery management system enough time to recharge them fully, because it's been about a week since the last, no, not even a week, just a couple of days since the last power outage there. They were taken out of service the day before yesterday, so they they just had about a day to recharge, and with a 50 amp load on the system already, who knows, there might not be too many amps available for charging. This particular one was considerably more discharged than the others. It had less than 12 volts at the terminals, only 11.9 something, but other than that the others were in the range of 12.4 to 12.8 volts, most being around 12.6, so it's not too bad. And this is the one that's hooked up to the lab power supply, and indeed it is slowly drawing more and more current, so I think there might be some hope for it too, despite it having been obviously kept at a non-fully charged state. Judging from the videos of fellow YouTuber Nolgar24, who has a similar kind of batteries, I believe he has a heap of 100 amp hour Enesys data-safe batteries, similar but orange in color, and of course with some kind of different materials inside. They seem to be, from his experience, rather durable cells, and indeed all of these seem to be at least holding up, so I'm in good hopes. I've got more of these coming in the next couple of months, I believe. I might be getting my hands on quite a few of these actually, because a local telecom's replacing a whole heap of them. They should also have some 155 and 170 amp hour cells, as well as some Sonnenschein 300 amp hour 6 volt cells, which I'm very much looking forward to. I'm a Sonnenschein fanboy, and I like big batteries. Above all, these are from 48 volt systems. They were of course hooked up in 2 strings of 4 in series, so I can use these to construct a 48 volt system for my solar system rather than the current 12 volt system, which is way too low voltage to actually be of much utility. I'm going to need to get more panels in order to do that, but Hey, the batteries have a big expense, and I've got some of those now, and I'm going to get more cheaply in the future. So I've got to evaluate the condition and performance of these. At the moment they're just charging with about 14 point something volts. They are, the manual says that you're supposed to, when you get them, you charge them at pretty much the float voltage. They're specified for a rather high float voltage of 13.68 volts, but since these batteries have been in use for over a decade, my job in doing this is essentially to disregard all the instructions given and do my best to squeeze some more life out of these. And since they have low cell voltages, I'm inclined to believe that these have suffered from somewhat low charge rather than somewhat high charge, especially since those proper telecom battery management systems tend to be very good on the cells. They don't overcharge them like, for instance, UPSs do. And they are drawing a bit of current. These are connected to this big charge. It should be putting it about 14.3 volts. The current in these two the current in this one has been dropping. The current in this one has been, it's been dropping. This one I put on just a couple of hours ago, but it's sitting at the current limit of this little power supply down there. This one, 0.8 amps. This one's dropped a lot. This was one of the more highly charged cells. This one's also very low. These two were low priority. I put this one and those two on charge yesterday when I got them home because they had the lowest voltages. These two are quite high. This one's 12.8, so I haven't bothered charging those yet. I'm out of charger leads. I just got to let these charge, and then I've got to probably construct some kind of automatic turn-off device for my load, since these are probably going to have considerable capacity left. I'm not really entirely sure. I don't know what to expect out of them, but judging from the 12-year specified life and the fact that they've been used with a proper battery management system, they probably have somewhere around 70% capacity left, most of them. So that's almost 100 amp hours, and that's 10 hours discharge with this thing, and I'm not going to bother sitting around and guarding all of these for 10 hours at a time. So yeah, need to make some kind of automated system, perhaps just an op-amp and a potentiometer. Is this one drawing more or less current? Yeah, the voltage is slowly going up, so it's drawing. It's oscillating a bit. This one's been drawing more and more current for the last few hours after I put it on the lab power supply. It was just hooked onto the big charger before, and this is a nice charger, 30 amps, but its voltage regulation is rather poor, so as soon as you put a bit of a load on it, just a couple of amps, the voltage drops to about 14.23 volts thereabout, even though it's set to 14.6 at the maximum scale there. So since that one was in such poor condition, I put a much lower 8-bit impedance charger on it in order to give it a bit of a more of a boost. Since these are AGM cells, which are supposedly fitted with some fancy recombination caps and recombination stuff in them, so they're not supposed to vent a lot, I need to be rather careful about balancing and overcharging them, since I don't want to lose any more electrolyte than I need to. Since they seem to be have been suffered from low charge rather than high charge, there's a good chance that they have most of the electrolyte left, but it hasn't boiled away, so that's a good sign. Because, well, you can't refill these. if one of them is in a horrible condition, I might try to just break my way inside of it and try to pour some water into it just for kicks before I throw it out, but I don't think that's going to happen. Either way, I've been rambling on for too long now, so better get on with it. Alright, I took the weak guy off the charger a few minutes ago, and it isn't looking too good. I also took the two guys I put on charge at the same time off, and as you can see we've got 12.92 volts in this one, which has been drawing a lot more current, so it should have received more energy. However, the cell voltage on the other ones is considerably higher, so this one does look weak, but it might not be beyond saving. I noticed it mostly just started getting warm, that's why I took it off. But I've got the load hooked up for a quick test run, so let's see what it does. Hey, there you go. At a 10 amp load, we're definitely getting a reasonable voltage. I'll have a surface charge drain for a moment while I fetch my ammeter to check the current, because it's very difficult to get a good connection to these terminals. And indeed, we're drawing about 10 amps. So the voltage is still dropping there, but it is above 12 volts, which is better than I expected. It kind of looks... well, it kind of behaves like a kind of half-charged battery, to be honest, because they tend to have this rather good voltage in the beginning. When you kind of start depleting the probably single bad cell, then it kind of drops off toward 11 volts. But if this was just a battery with bad internal resistance all over, in my experience that would make the voltage drop lower right away. It wouldn't have taken that little pause there at around 12.6. So what I believe is happening mostly in this battery is a single weak cell, one that has a higher internal resistance than the others. Let's just do a quick comparison to one of these guys. The leftmost one seems to be the strongest, because this one seems to be leveling out at around 11.9. Alright, starting off at 13.355. Let's see what happens. It is certainly dropping slower. The other one went down below 13. Well, it started off below 13. So we certainly do have a lower internal resistance. Well, we have a higher surface charge on this one. We can't really say anything else. But this one started to slow down at around 12.6. So let's see what this one does. It took a couple of minutes for it to get there. This one's definitely going to drop below 12.6 rather quickly as well. This is a good sign for this one, since it implies that this obviously better condition battery, due to the higher charge state I got it in, also has a somewhat high internal resistance. So it essentially tells me that these two batteries aren't very different. They might both be in somewhat poor condition, but that doesn't really matter, because what's important in this application is that as many batteries as possible, or at least strings of 4, are in similar conditions, so that they can be used in a series system rather than just being paralleled up like my current system. Because when you have many identical batteries, hey, you want to run a higher voltage system, because that gets your efficiency up no matter what you're doing. And this one's indeed going to drop below 12 volts, but it is leveling off sooner. So it's certainly in better condition. This battery is leveling off at about 12 volts. No point in going further than that. So it is in better condition, but it's... I was expecting there to be more difference between these batteries, and I'm very pleased to see that there isn't. The weak one isn't recovering to a very high voltage either, which would imply that it isn't fully charged. This one I would suspect to be recovering to, yeah, it's going to recover to a high voltage. So I think I'm going to have to put this one back on the charger and let it charge for another while. It was drawing 4 amps, it was current limiting the power supply, and a definite good sign is that now when I did put the charger on, the voltage is not spiking up right away, but the battery is sticking to its guns and pulling the voltage down. Should be about 12.6 or so across the battery, 12.5. Do get quite a bit of a drop in the cables and connections, but this certainly looks a bit more promising, because despite the battery voltage being 11.9 volts yesterday when I got it, the voltage went right up above 13 volts as soon as I put the charger on it. We started out at about 12.3 or so now, which means that we've got a battery that's more willing to accept charge than when I got it. So I have managed to do something good for this battery in letting it charge until it got warm. So I'll put the voltage limit on the charger to 14.2 volts now, which will be probably around 14 volts across the terminals. In order to be a bit kinder to it, I don't want to run the voltage higher than I need to in order to minimize electrolysis. So here's the first prototype of the timing circuit that I'm constructing for testing the batteries. It's really simple, it's just built around a single LM324 op-amp and an old clock. And a few hours later we have a little board. Since this is a 2-conductor relay, I can, for instance, connect the power supply to my load to one of the contacts and a battery charger and the battery to the other, so that once the testing is finished and this relay switches its setting like that, it'll actually hook up a battery charger and charge the battery back up automatically. Good news, the testing system worked perfectly. Bad news, I stopped this timer after I noticed it's finished at 20 minutes. That's about 4 amp hours. So that battery can be matched by that. It seems I've got a project ahead of me, because that's frankly just pathetic. 4 amp hours. I certainly hope that the others are better. Also, I just bought myself a trip to the scrapyard, and thankfully testing the leftmost battery now, it seems to have a bit more juice to it. This one didn't even manage to push the voltage up at all. It just went down to about 11.7 and then dropped like a stone. Whereas this one's pushing it back up as a healthy lead acid battery should. It's about 5 minutes into the test. So this is thank goodness this one is looking better. Gonna have to see how far it rises. It's actually going rather quickly. Fingers crossed. Come on. Turn around. This battery is certainly better than the worst one, thank goodness, because it's almost run for as long as it did, and it's still climbing in voltage. So yeah, Perhaps this one will get to the 40 amp hour mark rather than 4. It certainly is climbing stubbornly. I don't think I've ever seen a battery climb for almost 17 minutes before. They usually settle within about 10. There we go. 20 minutes and now we're just starting to turn around. Very, very, very slowly. And it certainly is showing promise. Running in 4 hours 15 minutes thus far, and with over 11.5 volts left. More than 10 times the capacity of this guy. So that's a relief. Even if all of these are about this capacity, I'd be happy. I mean, if all of them were 40 amp hours, I'd be satisfied. But by the looks of it, this is going to be closer to 100, I'd say. Maybe not all the way, but I would be surprised if this battery was any less than 80 amp hours. But I think we're gonna have to find that out in the morning. And during the night, we've got a little problem with this, and that's that there was a power outage during the night, which for some reason tripped the ground fault interrupter. And that wouldn't be a problem, except for the fact that it prevented